Hello and welcome back to the Google Workspace Update podcast from Strawberry 7. My name is Adam.
And my name is Adam.
We're here every week to bring you the latest updates around what is happening in the world of Google Workspace. This podcast is available in audio format from your regular podcast provider and also in video format on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/strawberry7.
Coming up on the show today,
we have 6 updates for you today. We have updates on Google Classroom, Google Workspace, Google Sheets, Google Voice, Google Sheets again, and Google Meet. Let's get to it.
on with the show. Right, so first up this week we've got a couple of little updatelets for you all today. The very first one is to do with Google Classroom. So inline replies for email notifications are now in Google Classroom. So Google is making Classroom email notifications more functional and easier to use with inline replies for comments. Teachers and students will be able to easily stay up to date and respond to communication within Classroom. Public and private comment notifications will have the freshest information, like the latest comment threads, and you can now easily respond to comments within the email itself. This will enable teachers to quickly reply to their students without having to switch back and forth between their emails and the Google Classroom. So I think this is a super helpful update. So then as soon as an email comes through to say your teacher has commented this on anything that they've commented on, and directly in the email you can just reply in a very similar way as if you would reply to a regular email. So I think that's super helpful.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Adam. That's really, really helpful. It's a little bit like with our support desk system when people email into us and it generates a ticket, but they don't have to kind of go to the site to reply. We can reply to them on email and they can reply to us on email. It keeps it all just super convenient, doesn't it? You've got the choice of going to Google Classroom or doing it in email. That's very, very helpful little update. When are we going to start to see this, and who's this going to be available for? I'm assuming education.
Yes, so a rapid release and scheduled release began on January the 30th, but is expected to be completed by February the 20th. And this is going to be available to Education Fundamentals, Education Plus, Education Standard, the Teaching and Learning Upgrade customers, and users with a personal Google account. So it's very much education based, as you'd expect with a Google Classroom update.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you, Adam. What have we got next?
Next up, this is a bit more of a general Google Workspace update. So expanding colour options in Google Slides, Docs, Sheets and Drawings. In Google Slides, Docs, Sheets and Drawings, you can now select colours in the Colour Palette tool by using RGBA values. In addition to that, you can also customise colours by using an eyedropper tool and selecting any colour from your screen within the Colour Palette.
Oh wow, what a very small update, but the eyedropper being able to select anywhere in your screen is super, super helpful. I would have actually really sort of wanted to use that a couple of times actually when I'm doing stuff in Google Drawings and Google Docs and things like that, because I have sometimes a colour in a document that we've already got as one of our templates and want to select that. So yeah, that's a very helpful little update.
Yeah, I've used things like the eyedropper myself before because, as you know, I do like to be a bit particular about some of the colours and the colour palettes that we use. Like you just need to use the right colour. If you know what colour you want to use, then using the eyedrop tool is really helpful to achieve that. So I think this is another small but mighty update that we've got.
Yeah, I agree. And when are we going to see that?
So the rapid release it's available right now. Scheduled release is planned for February the 15th, so that should be next week sometime.
Yeah, very soon. That's great. Thank you, Adam. What have we got next?
Next up, we've got a Google Sheets update. So this is it stems on a little bit from the update with Google Sheets that we had last episode as well. So there's now more ways to work with BigQuery data in Google Sheets. Google is expanding your ability to access, analyze, visualize, and share billions of rows of BigQuery data from Google Sheets. So connected Sheets users will now be able to include JSON columns from BigQuery connection in their formula, pivot tables, charts, extracts and filters. That's JSON as in JSON, not somebody from a horror film. Google is introducing support for 4 new Sheets functions that will allow you to have a single source of truth of your data within BigQuery, which are count blank, rows, VLOOKUP and XLOOKUP.
Ah, okay, yeah, as you said, very much stemming on from the update last week where we had this connected sheets advancement, and that was all to do with Looker, wasn't it? But BigQuery kind of featured in there. So this is great. Yeah, this is just sort of expanding on that, isn't it? And including some of those other things, and also from last week as well, including some of these newer functions that they've put in. I believe that XLOOKUP, I think VLOOKUP was there before, but I don't think XLOOKUP featured in Google Sheets until we were talking about it last week as one of the new advancements of the formulas that they were including. Lovely, thank you, Adam. And who's this going to be available for?
So this is available to all Google Workspace customers and users with a personal Google account, but this will not be available to legacy G Suite Basic and Business customers.
Okay, thank you, Adam. What have we got next?
Up next, we have a Google Voice update. So expanding SIP link for Google Voice in Latin America. So back in October 22, Google announced the ability for Google Voice Standard and Premier customers to connect a session initiation protocol trunk with voice. SIP link allows phone customers from local carriers to be used for Google Voice through a secure set of certified session border controls such as audio codes, Cisco, Oracle and Ribbon. Google has launched Voice to the following countries in Latin America by expanding SIP link availability. So those countries are Argentina, Colombia, Chile, Brazil and Mexico. Customers in those countries will need to purchase the new SIP link standard or SIP link Premier license to set up the SIP link.
Great. I remember this update. I remember us covering this actually quite a few episodes ago and talking about this sort of introduction of the SIP link there. So for anybody who is a Google Voice customer in that area, or of course critically if you have customers who are in Latin America wanting to use that and integrate SIP, then that will be very useful for you. I think there's a little bit here, isn't there, Adam, about how to get started. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So to get started for the admins, once you've configured your SIP trunks and uploaded new phone numbers, you can assign them to your users, desk phones, auto attendants and ring groups. But for the end users, there's no action required. And the rollout pace for this rapid release and scheduled release will started on February the 6th. This is going to be available to customers in Latin American countries who will need to purchase SIP link Standard or SIP link Premier licenses to set up the SIP link. Customers in all other supported countries will also need to purchase a Voice Standard or Voice Premier license to set up their SIP link as well. So it's very much a Google Voice update.
Yeah, I remember that from last time with the other update where it was not so much what version of Google Workspace you're on, but more sort of purchasing the appropriate license within Google Voice. Yeah, lovely. Thank you, Adam. And what have we got next?
Next up, we've got another Google Sheets update. So, expanding the power of Google Sheets with localized formatting and improved CSV imports. Google is introducing updates to improve the overall Google Sheets experience for users around the world. First, Sheets will now automatically use regional specific decimal separators based on your spreadsheet's locale. For example, in France, it is more common to use commas as decimal separators. When using a keyboard with a number pad, you can use the decimal key to insert a regional specific decimal separator in Sheets. Second, Google is making it easier to import CSV files into Sheets. Previously, if you used commas as your decimal separators and semicolons as your text separators, you had to choose a column delimiter and type for the import to properly split text to columns. Starting today, Sheets will auto-detect semicolons as a way to separate text into columns.
Oh, great. So again, another little sort of tweak to the way that they're running Google Sheets, but it's going to be very, very useful for somebody who does do those sort of regular imports of CSVs, not having to specify that, but instead Sheets automatically detecting those semicolons. And also, yeah, using the decimal separators based on locale. That's very clever. Again, just a very small little tweak there to just make things a little bit easier for those people who are in those different locales. Thank you, Adam. So when can we expect to see a rollout of that, and who's that going to be available for?
So rapid release and scheduled release started on February the 7th. The semicolon auto detect in Sheets, that feature is now available to everybody, which is great. This is going to be available to Google Workspace customers as well as legacy G Suite Basic and business customers, and it's also available to users with a personal account. So everyone will have access to this.
Great, yeah, right across the board. Thank you, Adam. And I think we've got one more update.
Yes, that's right. So last update from us this week is to do with Google Meet. So you can now include captions with a Google Meet video recording. If you're using captions in Google Meet, you now have the option to include those captions in a meeting recording. Including captions in your meeting recording can help make them more useful and accessible for meeting participants. Note that to record a meeting, the feature must be enabled by your admin, and you have to either be the meeting host, part of the host's organisation. Note that if host management is on, you'll need to be a meeting co-host for that feature, or you may need to be promoted to a co-host if you are outside the meeting's organisation. If you're using Google Classroom, then a teacher or a co-teacher for the meeting would need to be would have access to that as well.
Yeah, okay, that makes perfect sense. Well, for anybody listening on our audio podcast, we've actually turned this on for our video podcast, and we don't actually know if it's recording it, do we, Adam?
Fingers crossed.
It's going to be a surprise for all of us. So, yeah, hopefully it has recorded it properly, and if you want to check out what that looks like, head over to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/strawberry7. You'll see our Google Workspace Update podcast playlist there, where you'll be able to see this video along with our others as well. Now I know why you wanted to turn the captions on at the start of the meeting there, Adam. So that's it's very cool. I mean, I can actually see it coming up in front of me live on the screen as we're talking, and the speed that it's coming up.
It's cool. It's quite accurate as well, actually. So I'm pretty impressed with it, to be honest. I've not really used it before, but it's looking good from what I can see.
Yeah, it is really, really impressive. And I mean, I love Apple, as you know. We're both sort of Apple fans as well. But my goodness, this is just so much better than Siri. I mean, I don't know quite what the Siri team are doing, to be honest, because there's very little advancement on that product, as I can, from my point of view. And Google really do seem to have made massive strides with this sort of...
The speed and also the punctuation, it's there. Oh, okay, it's not ready. You couldn't just dictate an essay and then hand it straight into your teacher. That's, yeah, it's not quite at that level just yet, but definitely for the use of a meeting, it's really good.
Yeah, absolutely. And like they say in the update as well, it's making it more accessible, isn't it? You know, people who have either hearing difficulties or are just in a noisy environment. I mean, it does make it easier to have these captions on, and they are very, very fast. They're very impressive. So hopefully if this is recorded, you'll be able to see on the video how quickly they're coming up as well. When are we going to start to see that? And I think there was a little bit about getting started there, wasn't there, Adam?
Yes, yeah. So to get started with this, the admins will just need to make sure that this feature is enabled within the Google Admin Console. Rapid release started on February the 8th. Scheduled release is starting on March the 1st. This is going to be available to Google Workspace Essentials, Business Standard, Business Plus, Enterprise Essentials, Enterprise Standard, Enterprise Plus, Education Plus, the Teaching and Learning upgrade as well. So not everybody does have the availability to record their meetings, but if you are on a tier where that feature is enabled, then you should have access to this update.
Yeah, absolutely. And just looking at this as well, it's yet another feature of Google Meet, which is available on those Education Plus and the Teacher and Learning Upgrade, kind of those slightly higher education tiers. Just going back as well to getting started, just to let you guys know, Adam wasn't being flippant when he said just enable it in the just enable the feature. That's all the information that Google's actually given us. I assume, Adam, that it would be going to the admin console, going to apps, going to something like Google Meet, I would imagine, and then probably it will be hopefully fairly obvious there as to where to turn captions on. We didn't have to turn it on for us, it was just on by default. So again, I assume that it's on by default.
Yes, that sounds about right. There's also the search bar that can be used in the Google Admin Console as well, so which has always been very, very helpful as well. So I'm sure as soon when you find the Google Meet controls within the admin console, then it should hopefully be quite intuitive where you'd go to enable or disable this feature.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point, Adam, reminding people to use the search feature. I use that all the time in the admin console when I can't find things. So thank you very much for that reminder, Adam. And thank you for all those updates, Adam. That is everything. That's all of the updates around Google Workspace, and hopefully you're now completely up to date. Thank you so much for joining us this week. Remember that this podcast is available in audio format from your regular podcast provider, and also in video format on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/strawberry7.
We'll be back again next Monday with more updates.
Goodbye.
Bye.